This is Talk Business and Politics with Roby Brock.
Welcome to today's Talk Business and Politics. I'm Roby Brock, joined by John Brummett of the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette. Good to see you. We waved to each other. That's good.
We can't reach elbows, but we've got to set the right example for the viewing audience.
We're too old and
Right.
too far apart.
Yeah.
We're too far apart right now.
Yeah.
That's just not metaphorical. That's just literal.
I know what you're saying. I know what you're saying. Yeah.
Let's talk about the coronavirus.
Let's do.
It has obviously been dominating business news headlines, political news headlines, health news headlines, but I do want to talk specifically about what you think the political impact of the coronavirus is. Is it reshaping the political narrative?
First of all, I must say by way of preface that I'm hearing from a lot of people, and I'm monitoring the right wing and the Trump base, and they find the media to be too zestful to try to blame Trump or fault Trump in what they think is either overblown a crisis or overblown health issue or something we ought to work cooperatively on. I think a lot of that is happening, so I think some people will look at that question and say, well, see, this is what I'm talking about.
I didn't say anything about Trump. I just asked, how do you think that this is
Who's the
impacting
president?
politics?
Who's getting most of the criticism? His administration currently is. I'm not blaming you. I'm just citing an example of what I'm hearing. What we've got is a delicate, consummately American political finesse. I mean, we're a nation concerned about public health. We're also a nation concerned about our 401ks. And we want our politicians to tell us enough to be wise and as safe as possible against the spread of this virus, but not so much that we lose our retirement savings and that the stock market dips. And Trump is very sensitive to that, and by style it affects his popularity. And that's sort of what's happening. But I was at an event last week where local politico Skip Rutherford talked about politics, and he said everything else that he was saying about the political climate is contingent on one other thing, and that's the coronavirus and what happens forthwith, and whether it becomes Trump's Katrina, where the government simply failed through a lack of sensitivity. So that's where we are, and it just remains to be seen, but I do think we're entering a period where the government is going to have to tell us more than they've been telling us. And we're starting to see it, some of the Sunday shows with the Surgeon General, which is, it's out of the bag in Seattle, it's out of the bag in California, it's now going to grow, and we're going to enter a period not of quarantine, but where we're going to the government's going to encourage us to socially distance ourselves, to work at home if possible, to not go out as much, to avoid large gatherings, cancel the plane trip. And I think to the Trump administration's defense, I think they've not wanted to say anything that would cause us to all rush to the paper goods aisle at the grocery store and fight each other over the last roll of toilet paper. I think that's the kind of thing.
Or hand sanitizer.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing we've been trying to avoid. So it's a delicate balance for anyone, but Trump's style and his reputation are such that it's been especially pronounced in this case. The politics could be enormous in an election year, but you don't want to appear to be taking advantage as a Democrat of it, but it's a fact. Because if you've got hundreds of cases, you're going to have thousands of cases. And if you have thousands of cases, you're going to have tens of thousands and hundreds of thousands. And we don't know. For most people, it will probably be a mild or manageable period of convalescence, but it
comes down to competence versus incompetence is really what it will boil down to.
Not exactly. In terms of
political calculation.
It comes down to competence versus incompetence. It also comes down to the value, the trustworthiness, and the deftness of communication. You know, presidents sometimes have to say, here's the truth. Now, don't overreact to the truth, but we've got to tell you the truth, and we've got to encourage you to behave responsibly with that information. I think that's the one thing that's been lacking. I think that we've had a gap with the government not lying to us, just saying let's not set off panic, and most likely this thing will exponentially increase in terms of the number of cases.
Yeah, hadn't capped yet, I don't think either.
Yeah.
All right, let's move to the Democratic presidential race. Joe Biden seems to continue to build with his momentum. I think Cory Booker came out for him either Sunday night or Monday morning and endorsed him. Yet another endorsement. We are going to have some elections on Tuesday that could further the stage for the Democratic presidential race. Is it Joe Biden's race to lose now?
Yes. Yes. That Super Tuesday performance, 10 states in 14, was a magic moment, but it put him in the lead, and it made him the single. He emerged as the one thing the Democrats needed was for somebody, most likely him, to emerge as the single non-Bernie, on the theory that Bernie was winning because the rest of the field was dissipated, and if you go against one consolidated foe, the semi-socialist, progressive lane is about 40 to 45% of any state. And then Biden, if he behaves, if he doesn't blunder, should pick up the majority of delegates, maybe not a great many, but a majority, because they're all proportioned, there's no winner take all, going forward. So that's the position he is in, and it's his to lose, to the extent that I think the only thing that could hurt him would be a severe blunder, and he's got to go head-to-head against Sanders in some debates. Not these multi-debates where he just gets a few seconds and tries to get through it, but where he's got to interact here to here with a moderator over there. And we'll see how that goes for him. We
will see how that goes. Mm-hmm. Of course, he's a veteran of debates. I mean, he's done a scores
of them.
Yes,
but he's not any good at them. I mean,
well, I remember he handled himself well in the Sarah Palin debate in 2008.
He did. He handled himself well in the last debate in South Carolina. But, you know.
Neither one of them will get the opportunity to kind of hide or disappear on the stage like they have with those
You know, in the last debate,
forums.
he kept saying, I'm finishing on time and none of the others are finishing on time, which was played well for him. But the fact was he had said all he wanted to say and he just wanted to get done. When it's just the two, you've seen Obama and Hillary got into it.
Yeah.
You know, and it really forces you to compete hand to hand. So we'll see how that goes.
I've moderated some debates where they've cut the answers short too, and you wind up tap dancing for more questions to get in there. You mentioned Hillary Clinton. Let's talk about a new documentary out about Hillary Clinton. I think it's a 4-part series on Hulu. Some criticism is that it really didn't share anything too new about Hillary Clinton herself. What was your takeaway?
I watched it Friday. A beautiful day. I sat in and watched 4 hours.
You could have been working in your backyard.
Well, I got through at 3 and still had some time to go play tennis, so it was a good day. I'm a binge watcher, you know, and it's one of the advantages of streaming TV. It tells you there are no new revelations. It probably just causes people with fatigue to watch it with their preconceived notions or to not watch it at all. I have a column tomorrow in which I say, if you were inclined, as I was, to consider her anew, it gives you some basis of contemplation to think about, and it's timely, with the Elizabeth Warren dropping out of the presidential race and a lot of talk about how women still can't compete for the presidency, the special burdens and difficulties that still beset a woman in the modern world, particularly the modern political world. What I was struck by watching it is that Hillary Clinton was beset at every turn of her adult life with having to do something she didn't want to do, either to conform for her husband's purposes or to meet the expectations of her from other women to be a trailblazer. She always seemed to me, because she and I never really got along when she was in Arkansas, that she was always just acting like she was put upon. I just thought, come on, you know. But I began to understand that more. And I would encourage people, if they have the ability to open the mind just a little and contemplate, to consider it from that angle. I found it helpful and instructive and sensitizing, and Lord knows I need sensitizing at my age. Southern white males of the baby boom generation, as her husband Bill told me once, you've just got a cultural disconnection with a strong Midwestern woman. And I think true. But I also lacked, as so many of us do, sensitivity to the special difficulties that a woman faces in this modern political world. So watch it.
It's so nice to see you know, have these epiphanies in
to.
real time.
You're never too old to get better.
I like it. Let's move on and talk about nonpartisan judicial elections. Asa Hutchinson, our governor, makes some commentary middle of last week about the Supreme Court race. He basically, and I'm going to summarize it a little bit here, he said this race will be studied. We don't identify by party, but he thinks it is important that people identify by belief or philosophy. Is that much different than identifying by party?
What he says sounds good, which is, let's not vote for Barbara Webb because she's a Republican. Let's vote for Barbara Webb because she's the conservative. And that's perfectly fine. Okay, fine. My greater point with the governor in a couple of emails he and I exchanged yesterday was it turns out that his PAC, the ASA PAC, gave $2,000 to Barbara Webb. And I said, you're the Republican governor. She's the wife of the Republican Party chairman. She is a Republican. She's running for the Supreme Court, and here your PAC is giving her money. And he says, I'm a lawyer and a governor, and I have as much right as anybody else to make a choice among Supreme Court justices. He said his PAC was nonpartisan.
Has it given to non-Republican candidates?
I think what he meant by that was, and he can correct me if I'm wrong, I think he has given contributions within Republican primaries to the Republican he favored.
Gotcha.
If that makes it nonpartisan or discerning within a partisan way is a discussion that he and I might have some other Sunday. But that was his point. The point is, this is all a charade. It's a charade. He's a the word went out from Republican committees, from national Republican groups. This is the Republican candidate for the Supreme Court. Please go vote in our otherwise meaningless primary so Republicans can get out there and let's elect a Republican to the Supreme Court. And the modern template, which was established in this race, is the Republicans can now advance their candidates and be blatant about it so long as the candidate herself or himself does not say, I accept that support because I am the Republican candidate. That constitutional mandate for nonpartisan elections is now, the template is, Democrats have no trouble not saying they're Democrats because that hurts them. But the Republicans are saying, we're going to give them all the money, we're going to do the billboards, we're going to do the ads. They just have to keep their mouth shut about it. And that meets the constitutional mandate. It's a charade. It needs to be done away with. We need to go to a system of appointed judges, but we're not going to.
We're not.
No.
All right, because you'd have to vote to change the Constitution.
The people would have to vote to do it, and you'd be asking the people of Arkansas, please take away your vote to select your judges. And they're
not going to do that.
I'm not confident that they would.
Let's see if they'll do something else on the changing the way the Constitution is set up. David Couch, the Minimum Wage Initiated Act supporter, the medical marijuana supporter, he was successful in those two drives, has a new drive out now for redistricting. It's going to change the way congressional and legislative districts are redrawn. The most compelling reason for this happening nationally, because this is part of a national trend, is to eliminate gerrymandering. Do we have gerrymandering in Arkansas? It never seems to come up as a complaint to me.
I hate to invoke his name, but you should ask Senator Jason Rapert what he thinks about what the Board of Apportionment, consisting of Mike Beebe, Dustin McDaniel, and whoever was the Secretary of State at the time, 10 years ago.
It was Mark Martin.
No, it wasn't.
It was.
No, because
he was outvoted 2-1.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Right, thank you. what Mike Beebe and Dustin McDaniel did to him, and he can show you, and others, largely in legislative districts, which are very intricate. The 3-person Board of Apportionment, controlled by one party, can really mess with legislative districts. Now, the 4 congressional districts are sort of set, and everybody is reasonably happy with them, or they can't think of anything to do better that's passable. I mean, you could put Pulaski County with Jefferson County and go to the Delta to the river and have a majority black district, but that's not going to happen. So we usually just adjust those. But the Democrats did try 10 years ago, the famous Fayetteville finger.
Which finger was it, by the way?
Well, you know which finger it was. Because you're going up through here and all of a sudden you go like that.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, so it was kind of one of the middle fingers.
I believe it was been a middle finger.
Okay.
So that's the problem. And the issue, the thing here, you didn't ask, but the politics of this are, if you ask people generally right now, do you think that the politicians should not draw their own districts and that the people should, you get a real positive number. But by the time the same Republican forces who elected Barbara Webb tell you that the Democrats been doing this for decades, and now suddenly that we're the majority party, they want to take it away from us.
It changes the calculus.
It changes the political calculus. This will be This will be a major political decision for the people of the state, and I think the Republicans are trying to formulate just how do we say we want to draw our own districts, and you partisans have got to let us. And I think the current mood of Arkansas out there in the hinterlands is if the Republicans want to draw their own districts and save us from Cortez, Ocasio-Cortez, then let's do it. So that's going to be an interesting dynamic.
Republican Party Chairman Doyle Webb has already told me he will be opposing this.
Well, of course
so
he will.
He'll be out
but
there.
how does he do it, and how do they
We'll see how the
manage
messaging goes.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
He is John Brummett with the Arkansas Democrat-Gazette, an extended version today.
Sorry I went so long.
It's all right.
There's a lot of good topics.
Coronavirus version.
Yeah, right.
So, all right. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I'll wave goodbye to you instead of bumping you. All right.
All right.
Thanks. That's all for today's Talk Business and Politics. I'm Roby Brock. We'll see you next time.
You'll find us at the end of a lot of long country roads, covering over 60% of the great state of Arkansas. Our 17 electric distribution cooperatives are working day and night to provide reliable, affordable power to over 500,000 homes, farms, and businesses, just like yours. The Electric Cooperatives of Arkansas, your local energy partners.
Each day, the promise of our nation begins again. Arkansas and America moving forward. I help make that promise a reality. It's not for everyone, but people everywhere depend on us.
Oh, I love you too, sweetie.
Trucking delivers, or everything stops. And that's what drives me.